Well, Owen, welcome to FrightFest.
Well, thank you for having me.
Your film's about temptation and monsters.
Yes, we've kind of been billing it as a psychosexual fairy tale.
Psychosexual fairy tale.
Yeah, I think it kind of...
Explain.
Well, yeah, you've of course seen the film, and for those that haven't, it's one that I guess I don't like to always give too much away, but it's about a one man's descent into madness as he's trying to come to terms with his desires and temptations, and how he struggles with them and ultimately is confronted by them.
Mm-hmm. And your first film that you directed.
It is, yes.
So maybe could you talk about how that came about, please?
Yeah, I had a script that I had worked on, and really wanted to have it be something that I felt I could start to pass along on a higher professional level. So I felt after reading through it and knowing how difficult of a subject matter it was, it might help to bring someone else in that could kind of help me walk that line as successfully as I felt it needed to be walked. So I started looking for a writer to work with, and I ended up connecting with Steve Wiseman, who I met through Mary Stuart Masson and her production company, and we kind of hit it off right away. He gave me a couple scripts to read, and there was one in particular that kind of really made me decide to go with him, and it was actually, believe it was a kind of a children's story, and it was about a relationship between a brother and sister, and I just saw the essence in that I felt was also a very important essence in this story, because I had a younger, an older sister and a younger brother, and there was really only 3 characters in the story, and so I said, let's do it, and he ended up coming up and living with me for a couple months in the location where we ended up shooting the film, and I think that really had an influence on the overall, ending of the script, and how it came together.
And it turned out to be quite a family affair.
It did, my wife was involved with the script writing process as well, and all 3 of us kind of really worked on it together to, really kind of fine-tune the more difficult elements of it. And I think if we hadn't had her input as a woman, I don't know if we would have been able to thread that line that we did as successfully as I believe we did in the film.
The certain part where it makes people feel uncomfortable, because the film's kind of come into its time, with the Me Too stuff.
Sure.
And yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't, when everything started going down with the Me Too era, I was like, oh my gosh, here I am coming out with this film, and I had shared it with a couple PR firms, and they had kind of relieved my concern. I was fortunate to have the project go through IFP in New York, in the No Borders program, and then I also went through the Completion Lab. So I really got a lot of support along the way that this is something that's different, and if you do it and you handle it correctly, you'll find it will find its way. And so I was able to really have continued advice and support from people that I trusted in the industry. I mean, down to where I went and shot the teaser. I did a teaser on my own and just kind of wanted to get a feeling for the mood, the atmosphere, the tone of the story, and that's kind of really what kind of catapulted me into the position of directing it. People saying, look, why don't you do this? You seem to know exactly what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like, and at the beginning I wasn't sure. I just knew I wanted to be involved from the concept of it to the completion, and I wanted to get into filmmaking, and I found that the best possible way to probably do that for me was to have a strong script. I mean, it goes back to what Alfred Hitchcock says. The most 3 important things is the script, and that's where I really got that support, I believe, all along the way. But I knew that it was not going to be an easy road to go down. And as you said, consistently, I hear uncomfortable hear, you know, disturbing. And actually, there was someone who just wrote a review for it for FrightFest and called it one of the darkest films here. Which,
wow.
you know, I when I was first coming to FrightFest, I wasn't really quite sure how a film like this would fit into the festival. And it's you know, it's someone such as yourself who programmed the film that, you know, knew that it had an audience and reassured me that, you know, you'll come here and you'll have an audience, and we certainly have. I mean, I saw my first autograph the other day. I couldn't believe it. Someone had printed something out and they saw me at one of the press things and said, "Can you please sign this?" And I was like, "Okay." So it had, and one was a man, one was a woman from Spain, and it was like, you know, so it has found an audience here.
I saw a post somewhere where somebody had just come out and saying, I need to go away and think about this.
So what was the word they used? They said, I can't remember. Anyways, but
but it was your cast.
I wrote the part for my brother.
You wrote the part for your brother.
I wrote the part knowing that he was going to play it. Along the way, there was a couple of producers that, you know, were thinking about getting involved, and they said, but they really ultimately wanted to do that if I went out and tried to find a bigger name to play the role at the time. Now my brother's on, unfortunately wasn't able to be here this week because his premiere for Ozark Season 2 took place at just the timing of things, you know, literally the same day as the opening of the festival. So he went to LA, I came here, but it was originally, you know, written for him, and I was stuck to my guns and said, I'm not going to go try to cast somebody else. I know that he's right for this part. And I think he did a very, very good job of tackling a really complex, difficult role for any actor.
Any actor.
I don't care how long you've been at the game. I think and I know he was intimidated by it, not only because of the subject material, but the fact that he basically, you know, carries the whole film.
Yeah.